Hello and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts, a Centers for Spiritual Living teaching center. I am Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson. I am the founder and the spiritual director. Now, as you are sitting there joining us, you may have questions, any number of questions, such as, who am I? How did I get here? Spiritually integrated arts means what exactly? What is a teaching center? Well, what is Centers for Spiritual Living? What is that? What does that even mean? Or New Thought, or religious science, or science of mind and spirit? You may have any number of questions about this specific community, about the parent organization, CSL, our philosophy, our teaching, our liberation theology. Any number of questions. Feel free to send an email. We look forward to connecting more and building our virtual community, our global community. And if you haven't connected yet on social media, feel free to do so. This is your invitation now. Also, did you know that all of our Sunday messages are archived on our YouTube channel? You can watch it anytime. Now, questions about anything, such as becoming a member. What does that mean? What does membership entail? And if you live somewhere far and already belong to a spiritual community, can you be a member of more than one? The simple answer is yes, you can. Just like you can shop at more than one grocery store, you can attend or be a member of more than one gym. We are building beloved community. So you can do both. You can be a member of both. You can be involved with both. That's what being in spiritual community means. So we welcome you. We invite you. We are so appreciative that you have found this community and that you have joined us today. We bless you. We love you. We welcome you. Live long and prosper. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of our Sunday message. Love you. Connect with you soon. Blessings. Namaste. Greetings. Happy Black History Month. Today we continue our conversation regarding this idea of comfort, discomfort, change and transformation, and everything in between. Where comfort ends, transformation begins. Pause and think about that for a second. What does that say to you? What does that mean to you? As our theme says, the power to transform your life lies within your willingness to step outside of your comfort zone. As we said last week, comfort zone into fear zone, into learning zone, into growth zone, into evolution zone, and beyond. The power to transform is within our willingness and ability to step outside of the comfort zone into the zone of fear, the zone of learning, the zone of awareness, the zone of transformation, the zone of growth, the zone of evolution, and beyond. That comfort zone, that status quo zone, and that sameness of what was, what is, what was, what is, and I want to keep it the same old, same old. We have to be willing to surrender and let that go. To transform your life, you must embrace the unknown. You must embrace the idea of creative chaos. You must embrace discomfort. Embrace the risks. There are creative risks. There are necessary risks that come with this idea of discovering this amazing and incredible growth and fulfillment that awaits us. We have to be willing to step into it. We have to be willing to take action today. Not just think about it, not just be willing, but act upon it. See, I can be willing to cook breakfast for you. Doesn't mean I'm going to do it. I can be willing to lend you money. Doesn't mean I'm going to do it. I can be willing to go to the gym. Doesn't mean I'm going to do it. Willingness doesn't mean action. Not always. It can lead to it, but they're not synonymous. So today we are invited to take action, to begin expressing this idea, this energy of limitless possibilities, limitless potentialities that are right here, right where we are, on the other side of, but I'm so comfortable, but I'm so comfortable. I don't want to change. I want to stay the same because I'm comfortable. All of that limitless, infinite potentiality and possibility is on the other side of that. Are we willing to let a degree of that attachment to, that addiction to comfort? Are we willing to let it go in order to transform, in order to live our best lives? Brene Brown says, you can choose courage or you can choose comfort. You cannot have both. Now, once again, linguistic convenience, which we're going to talk more about there, yes, because it depends on what kind of courage. Yes. Juggle, depends on what we're talking about. But generically, in a generalized manner, you can choose courage, which is stepping into the fear, stepping into the chaos, or you can choose to stay the same. You can't choose both. You can choose action, or you can choose sedentary, but not both. Because if I'm going to actively get up and go to the gym, I can't choose to actively get up and go to the gym and sit here and twiddle my thumbs, daydreaming about the gym. Can't do both. One or the other. In order to do that, I have to stop this and get up and go. You can choose courage or you can choose comfort or the addiction to comfort. You cannot have both. Comfort seems to be a reoccurring word, reoccurring theme this month. When we talk about being comfortable, what are we talking about? Being comfortable is providing some form of physical ease or mental ease, psychological ease, emotional ease, and relaxation. Generally, comfort or being comfortable is something that's enjoyable, something that's pleasant, often reference something that's warm. Tracy would love that one. Something that's cozy. Tracy would love that one. Y'all should see her when she's watching television in the living room, bundled up like comfortable is also safe. Am I comfortable? When I park my car in the garage at work, do I feel comfortable walking to my office? Do I feel safe? It's also a level of security. Are you comfortable with using that program for your data storage? Secure. Now, in the general scope of things, feeling or being comfortable isn't the problem. That's not the issue. We have no issue with something being enjoyable, no issue with something being pleasant, being warm, no issue with the safety no issue. That's not the issue. Being comfortable is only an issue when it's a problem when. So feeling or being comfortable is not a problem unless we're in a space of metaphysical malpractice where we choose to deny or ignore various atrocities that are going on or have gone on. It's not a problem unless we refuse to acknowledge it and change it. It's not a problem unless we act like, oh, yeah, it's not my problem. It's not. They need to pull themselves up by their own bootstraps. And so comfort is a problem when we think from privilege, because that's what it is. When you are privileged enough to not have to be concerned with, oh, well, I don't live in Japan, so them dropping a bomb there has nothing to do with me here in the United States of America. That's privilege. Well, I'm not Jewish, so when the Nazis, that's privilege. Oh, well, I'm fill in the blank. Privilege. Well, I'm a guy and I'm 6 foot tall and I weigh 290 pounds and, rape, it's not, maybe she shouldn't wear. It's privilege. Privilege and ignorance. So when we're talking about comfort, it becomes a problem when we are being addicted to or attached to it from a level of privilege and ignorance. Spiritual practices, science of mind and spirit, gives us a way to heal this and evolve this privilege and ignorance so that what's our vision? What is a world that works for all? Dr. Holmes says, fear brings limitation and lack in its wake and destroys the happiness and possibility of a greater degree of livingness to those who suffer from it. To those who suffer from fear, they're going to experience the experiences of lack and limitation, which destroys happiness. It destroys possibilities. It destroys their ability to live greater lives. Fear blocks the more complete givingness of the spirit to its highest form of manifestation on this planet, which is humankind. Now, sacred cow, because that's privilege. That is the privilege. How does Dr. Holmes know that the highest form of manifestation is humankind? We don't speak dolphin. Okay, so because we can create cars and air pollution and medicine, we're clearly the highest form. So let's get this right. If there is only one power, one presence, one mind, one life, then the life of all is the life that is God. That means, and if God has no, as Dr. Holmes has said, no respecter of person, then God showing up as Ladybug and God showing up as Lady who lives down the street from me, they're both God. And so if I can indiscriminately just smash a ladybug as though it's insignificant, then I'm not honoring God as fully as I can, as fully as I'm invited to. So I'm going to respect and acknowledge and value all of the ways that God is showing up. So highest form of manifestation, that's a hierarchy. There's low forms of manifestation of God. Well, isn't that why a lot of people currently damage the planet? They have no respect for the land because it's a lower form of manifestation, lower life forms. Trees don't matter. They're not sentient beings. Just get rid of all of them. So just be mindful as we go through that there is a level of comfort where we don't even question the words of our founder. We don't question our teaching in order to evolve beyond the paradigm of where Dr. Holmes was when he coined these words versus where we are today. So fear blocks the more complete givingness of spirit because we cannot receive when we are afraid. Hands are clenched and closed, not open and receiving. When someone is afraid, they're not breathing a full, relaxed breath. They're usually hyperventilating, like that's not a full breath. That means my body is not getting the full, complete oxygenation that it could when it is being breathed from a safe and secure state of awareness and being. So in the same way that the body cannot receive, when fear is the operating paradigm energy, we cannot receive the full givingness of spirit, which means anything that we are seeking to manifest is going to be blocked to a certain degree. If I'm afraid of public speaking and XYZ of all the things that come with it, then I'm going to deny myself the opportunity to be an actor on stage or film or television or whatever, because I'm going to have to speak in public, but I'm afraid to speak in front of people. Well, then you're denying yourself the full givingness of your art, your craft, your imagination, you're denying yourself the opportunities, the potentialities, the possibilities of what you can be and can do. So let's agree to be uncomfortable and step into the very thing that we fear. Excuse me. Now, we all know some version of fear causes people to stick their head in the sand. We all know the analogies and the metaphors and, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. And, I'm not getting involved. That's not my business. Minding my own business. Not my monkeys, not my circus. Keep calm. Stay in your own lane. Stay in your lane. I'm staying in my lane. Stay in your lane. Mind your business. And it's this minding our business, not getting involved, that lets us know that the neighbors next door, those children are getting abused, but it's not my business. The neighbors on the other side, domestic violence, not my business. The children across the street, they're neglected, not my business. That practitioner is embezzling money, not my business. Well, not stay in your lane. And we do all of this because it's uncomfortable to get involved. We do all of this because we are afraid to get involved. We are afraid that if I say something, there will be consequences that I will have to fear. So rather than step into the fear, I will allow people to be beaten, children to be hungry. I will allow that. Is that what it means to live in integrity with spiritual principles and practices, though? Is that how we create a world that works for all? Andy Molinsky says, no one likes to move beyond their comfort zone. No one likes to be in fear. No one likes to be uncomfortable in the general sense of the being. But as the saying goes, that's where the magic happens. The magic happens beyond the comfort zone. Beyond the comfort zone is where we grow, where we learn, where we develop, where we evolve in a way that expands our horizons beyond what we initially thought was possible. Moving beyond what's comfortable moves us into. Moving beyond what we're afraid of moves us into. Moving beyond the limitations of moves us into greater and greater possibilities, greater and greater potentialities where, well, it's possible, move beyond. It's probable, move beyond. A world that works for all is inevitable because of the steps we have taken and the steps we are taking. It's inevitable. That means being uncomfortable, though. That means being in the zone of magic where we are willing to learn, to grow, to develop, to evolve, to expand. Is that where we are ready, willing, and able to go? Therein lies the question. And each of us has to sit with, am I ready, willing, and able to be uncomfortable? Because whatever that is, it involves me being uncomfortable. Going to college, you're going to be uncomfortable. Moving to a new city or state, there's some level of discomfort that comes with you're leaving what was known to go to something that's unknown. That's discomfort. And yet in doing so, we are availing ourselves to the creative chaos of the infinite possibilities of greater and greater expressions of what God is. Are we willing to take action from that consciousness, though? Annette White says, each time you try something for the first time, and I'm going to add, each time you continue to do that something repetitively, you will grow. A little piece of the fear of the unknown is removed and replaced with a sense of empowerment, a sense of capabilities. Each time you do something for the first time, and you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again, while for example, as a professional interpreter with many years under my belt,
By the time I moved to DC, I had already had a whole bunch of years under my belt. And yet, each time I was going to a new place to interpret, the Pentagon, Department of Justice, the Air and Space Museum, a government office, a school, wherever, Kennedy Center, wherever, there was a certain level of butterflies in my stomach. And yes, it's easy that one could call that fear. It's anxiety. Ooh, things could go wrong. Yeah, things could go. Yes, there's always the possibility of signing the wrong sign, voicing the wrong. Yeah, that's always a possibility of interpreting. Always. And yet, I embraced, breathed into, I stood up there and interpreted as best I could. And each time I did, I gained greater skills, greater awareness, connected with other people, and built relationships and all kinds of things that had I not been willing to do the first time, to make the first time the second time, to make the second time the 34th time, and the 34th time the 370th time, etc., I would never have developed my skills as an interpreter, a performer, someone involved in the deaf community and deaf culture. It wouldn't have been possible because I didn't put myself in the realm of. So each time we do something and do it again, a little bit of fear fades away. Empowerment takes its place. Skill takes its place. The fear lessens. It might even be eliminated altogether, but it lessens. Empowerment grows. It lessens. Empowerment grows. Capabilities grow. Skills grow. Awareness grows. The audacity to trust and believe in yourself grows. And the fear lessens even more. Each time you do something and you do it again and you do it again and you do it again, what you are in essence doing is mastering the skill. As Stephen McCrane said, the master has failed more times than the beginner has even tried. Are we willing to master? In other words, are we willing to fail time after time after time? Imagine how many times a gymnast falls before they actually master, quote unquote, the balance beam or the floor exercise. How many times does the ice skater fall before they jump, spin, and how many times does a mathematician fail in the calculations before the master has failed more times than the beginner has even tried? Are we willing to master our lives by trying more, by failing more effectively, failing more consciously, failing in a more empowered manner? Sure, some of us at least are familiar with this old joke. How do I get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, man. Practice is the only way. Right? And the joke is someone's trying to find, they're lost in New York and I don't know where to. Excuse me, how do I get to Carnegie Hall? Practice. A lot of it. I meant like, do I go north or west? But okay, thank you. Now, practice. And yet there are many folks who would rather, how do I get this kid to not practice? Okay, look, how expensive would it be for me to just pay you to skip over all this practice straight to expert, straight to mastery, straight to perfection? Many of us would prefer to do that. I want to skip over all the messy stuff and get straight to the good stuff, straight to the applause and the accolade and the award and the payday. But I don't want to practice to get there. But practice is the only way to get there. So when we see this graph and it says, should you be practicing right now? And it says, are you the student? Yes, go practice. Are you the student? No. Then find the most difficult technique within whatever your realm of whatever this is and go practice that. What? Okay, let's try this. Is there someone better than you? And I don't like this whole concept because it sets up competition. So we'll say, is there someone who has the skills that you desire to also have? Meaning they're an expert certified interpreter. I want skills like that. Okay, so is there someone who possesses those skills? Yes, keep practicing. Is there someone who practices those skills? No. Then find someone who does and then practice it. Okay, so what is it that you should be practicing? Well, check this out. But wait, there's more. Because truth be told, it's not that you should be practicing, but it's that you are already practicing. But what are you already practicing is the question. See, it's not a question of should you practice, because you already are. But the question is, what are you practicing already? Are you practicing worry? Are you practicing codependency? Are you practicing what? Spiritual bypass, metaphysical malpractice, low self-esteem, ineffective self-care. What exactly are you practicing? Because you are, trust and believe, you already are practicing. All of us are practitioners. Some have a license, most do not. But if we are individuals who are expressions of God, incarnations of God, and we have a mental equivalent, then we are practicing. What are we practicing? Breathe. Dr. Holmes says, God is more completely expressed through the person who lives largely, more so than through the person who lives in a meager manner, just eking through life. Fear is a belief in limitation. Pause, because it depends on what kind of fear we're talking about. Once again, there is life-affirming fear, and there is non-life-affirming fear or life-denying fear. He's referring to what I would venture to say, he's referencing non-life-affirming fear. And in many ways, non-life-affirming fear is a belief in some form of limitation, some form of lack, some form of not good enoughness. It is a denial that the divine is the absolute center, the absolute source of all that is good. Now, we must do all that we can, all that is within our power to heal this, to overcome this, to transcend it, to evolve into a new way of being where we recognize the divine as the center, the divine as the source, all goodness, and what is true of it is true of us. So that center is right where we are. Goodness, love, power, and presence, all of it. So we evolve into it and we have overcome the non-life affirming fear. And then that which is the divine can and will more completely express through us. And we will no longer be living in a meager manner. So when Dr. Holmes says, living large, what does that mean? What does that look like? To live large. Understanding that we cannot overcome a fear, a non-life affirming fear, any fear, whatever it is. We cannot overcome it if we refuse to address it, if we refuse to name it, if we refuse to acknowledge it. We can't overcome it. How do you fix a hole in your roof that is leaking when you will not even acknowledge that I'm not going to pick up the phone and call a roof repair person if roofs don't exist. They're just an illusion. Leaky roof is not in my consciousness, so that it so we cannot overcome or heal a fear that we refuse to address. So we have to address them if we desire to heal and transcend. Judge Troward says, belief in limitation is the one and only thing that causes limitation. Really, though? Let's finish. Because we thus impress limitation upon the creative principle. And in proportion as we lay that belief aside, our boundaries will expand. And increasing life and more abundant blessings will be ours. Now, this depends on what we're referring to when we talk about limitation. Because there are, for example, my height. I am currently 5'10". That's the limit of my height. The chances of me becoming a 7-foot tall person are very, very, I'm going to say it's impossible, but very, very unlikely. Limitations. How long can I hold my breath? Indefinitely? No. There's a limitation to how long you can, unless you are attempting to end your life, another breath will force itself into being. It's a limitation. It's a limitation to how much heat my hand can take before I start to cook my hand. Limitation. So limitation, once again, is not the enemy. It's not necessarily the problem. Limitation simply means something that is restricted. There's a certain level of restraint, constraint, control, etc. So limitation isn't inherently the bad thing. Limitation is not inherently the problem. Okay, so keep this in mind, because there are all kinds of limits, all kinds of limitations, and there are things that are limited. Each year, my daughter-in-law will reference eggnog in Wawa. Wawa sells eggnog each Christmas season, Thanksgiving, Christmas season, but it's for a limited time only. Movies in a movie theater are there for a limited time. Comic books, there are limited editions, or an artist that does a certain number of reproductions, there's a limited number of, this is number 4 in a series of 40. It's limited. So once again, limitation is not the issue. How we choose to believe and act around this idea of limitations, how we allow limitation or the concept of to control us, that is the issue. That is what we are being asked to address. That's what we are being asked to resolve or to heal or to shift. A limitation in and of itself is not the issue. What is that energy? How does that show up in my life? Is this idea, this energy of limitation preventing me from living my best life? Then I need to address it and heal it. If my idea, my awareness of limitation is giving me the ability to get one of the last few collector's items before they're no longer being sold, not an issue. Be aware of how we're practicing, how we're embodying, because once again, it is so easy to generalize these words and just be off and running in ways that are not life affirming or life energizing for us. As the new year continues, we are called to change. Change how we understand discomfort, how we understand pain, grief, and all of the problems of life. As we evolve in how we understand all of that, so too does our application of the science of mind and spirit, how it is used to address, to heal, and to navigate all that we would rather not deal with. Metaphysics then becomes more relevant to how the vicissitudes of life play out in our experiences. We are called to change. This week's affirmation, our declaration, I will say it first. And if it resonates with you, I invite you to say it with me on the second go round. Change can be challenging, and I choose to change in as many life affirming ways as I can. Together. Change can be challenging, and I choose to change in as many life affirming ways as I can. And so it is. This week's questions, discussion points, prompts of enlightenment. Number one, what are some things that you fear? Things that you worry about? Things that you feel anxiety about? What are some strategies and techniques for managing these feelings and situations that spark them? How can you begin embracing discomfort as a necessary part of the growth process? And what can you do today? Number two, what are some examples of times in your life that you have stepped outside of your comfort zone to accomplish a particular goal or thing, to take some important steps? Have you ever done that in your life? What are some of the examples of when you have done so? How did it feel before you did it? How did it feel while you were doing it? How did it feel? How did you feel after you did it? Number three, what are some ways you can overcome both factual limitations and the limiting beliefs that may hold you back from stepping outside of your comfort zone and embracing a more expanded life? Now, when I reference factual limitations, let's use Helen Keller as an example. She was deaf and blind. That's a factual limitation, right? And yet, even within being deaf blind, she still accomplished a great many things in her life. Stephen Hawking still accomplished a great many things in his life, even while having the factual limitation of a myotropic lateral sclerosis. Factual limitations and the limiting beliefs. I want to distinguish. There are two to think about in that question. And then lastly, number four, for you, what does an expanded life look like? What would it mean that my life is more expanded? What does it look like? Describe that. Fascinating. Okay, ready for prayer? Let us pray. We breathe and anchor into the space of infinite possibility, where possibility becomes inevitability. Where, because the law says yes, we recognize that the moment we do what is ours to do, the law is already operating. It's already doing what is its to do. And we are greatly increasing that vastness of the creative chaos, yielding to us precisely what we desire, precisely what we deserve. It's a lot like when I'm painting. The vision I have in my mind initially of a drawing or a painting may not be what ends up being on the canvas, because I am willing to shift, change, morph, and evolve through the creative process. And yet, what I thought I was going to have and what I have as my amen, while there are certain similarities, I am open to the changing. I am open to the yes, this and even more. Yes, this and even greater. But I must be willing to step into that space of discomfort and change, evolution, uncomfortable, the mystery, the unknown. Move through the comfort, through the fear, through the learning, through the growth, through the evolution, simply to do it again. Ever evolving consciousness, ever practicing consciousness, ever living this divine thing we call life. And the law says yes. So as we move throughout the rest of our day and the rest of our week, we do so with, from, and as this consciousness of, I am the change I seek. I am ready, willing, and able to embark upon greater and greater life-affirming challenges, changes, transformations. And my willingness doesn't simply stop at my head thinking I am willing, but it moves to my heart, where the willingness becomes the doingness. That which I am being becomes that which I am doing, one and the same. I don't simply will myself to breathe, I breathe. We cannot will ourselves to be God. We simply God. And the law says yes. That means it's good. That means it's done. That means now is our opportunity to live as our amen. And so it is. So it is. Blessings. See you over in Zoom for our after service chat.